This is the Insta360 Go 3S, a tiny but powerful action camera that was released in June 2024. And it shoots high quality 4K footage in a form factor that fits where most cameras can't. So in this ultimate guide, I will show you the best settings specifically for FPV. I ran a bunch of tests on image quality, frame rate, field of view, stabilization, and more, so you don't have to. I love using it for behind the scenes content or in the gym, but the real reason I picked this up was to reduce the weight of my lighter FPV drones without giving up the image quality. Compared to something like the DJI Action 2, the Go 3S is much better suited for small FPV builds like the GEP-RC Cinelog 25. If you're new here, hi, my name is Demetrios and I create videos on drones, photography and everything in between, and it's a mix of educational and entertaining content. If you want to join a community of like-minded people, subscribe to stay up to date. Now, let's dive into the Insta360 Go 3S. First up, let's talk about resolution and frames per second on the Insta360 Go 3S. Now this can shoot up to 4K 30 frames per second, but you also have the option for 2.7K and also 1080p. So if you want the best clarity and editing flexibility, 4K 30 is your best option, especially if you're going to be cropping later for either horizontal or vertical content. Now, if you want the ability to slow down your footage in post, then you can use 2.7K 50 frames per second. And that way, if you're editing on a 25 frames per second timeline, you can slow this down up to 50%. Or if you work on a 30 frames per second timeline like I do, you can just use the optical flow feature to help include some additional frames to help smooth out the footage to make it less jittery. Now, the bitrate that you get with this in the settings is either standard or high. Now, I recommend using high all the time. However, if you're shooting in FreeFrame mode, it's always shot in high. But if you want to balance quality and space saving, then use 2.7K. This is still plenty of resolution, especially for social media, which the max resolution for those is 1080p anyway. Next up, let's talk about FreeFrame video and regular video because there are differences. Now, FreeFrame essentially records where it applies stabilization and the aspect ratio in post, and it records in 4:3 aspect ratio. But you can easily change this within the app, whether on your phone or on the Mac. Now, regular video shoots video with predefined settings like stabilization, and this only shoots in 16:9. So if you want horizontal or vertical footage, you need to set this prior up on your FPV drone with the correct bracket. Personally, my suggestion would be to just use FreeFrame mode because then you can just adjust everything in post later, either in the Insta360 app on your phone or on the desktop. And also, this is really beneficial because you shoot once and that way you can have video for both, well, horizontal and vertical. However, if you want to avoid post-processing and literally just capture and upload straight away, then maybe stick to video, but just make sure you shoot in either horizontal or vertical depending on your needs. Now let's talk about the field of view options you get with the Insta360 Go 3S. Now the beauty of FreeFrame mode again is that it doesn't really matter which field of view you choose on the camera because you can change this later anyway. Now the options you get is Mega, Ultra, D-Warp, Narrow, and then you have a 45-degree lock and a 360-degree lock, which I personally don't think is useful for FPV, but I'll explain briefly. Personally, using Mega Ultra Wide will be the best options here, and the main difference between this two is that there's less distortion with Mega. Now, for 45-degree and 360-degree lock, they have a significant crop, and essentially all they do is just maintain a level horizon, with 360 being you can do a complete 360-degree barrel roll with your drone, and the camera will remain locked. This may be useful if you're doing real estate and you like that aesthetic where you want the horizon locked. However, there is a better method. Additionally, the 45 and 360-degree lock field of view options have a significant crop, so this might not be the best option. Now, in regular video mode, you get all the field of view options as you did previously with FreeFrame, but you get the additional one of action. And this is actually even wider and would be suited for FPV. So just test this out between regular video mode and action and just using FreeFrame mode and Mega and see which one you prefer. Just note that when you do use video mode that the field of view option is actually baked into the footage and you can't change this later. This is why FreeFrame mode is such a benefit. Next up, let's talk about the colors and filter options you get with the Insta360 Go 3S. Now the Insta360 Go 3S has several color profiles and filters you can use, and you can't adjust these in post, so it's best to set these beforehand. That being said, if you are using the Insta360 mobile app, you can add some filters on top of that, and you can probably do some color grading in your editor of choice as well, but then these looks are already baked in. So this is probably more for people who just want to capture and upload straight away, or not have the fuss of color grading later. In post, you can adjust things like exposure, contrast, shadows, highlights, etc. But here are the main options to consider. Vivid produces rich and vivid colors, so if you like your footage to pop, select this. There are also several other options to choose from, like biking 1 and 2, one being cool tones, one being warm, urban 1 and 2, warm or vintage tones. You have snow 1 or 2 for snowy scenes, night 1 and 2 for low light scenes, and ocean 1 or 2. The camera normally gives a brief description of each filter to help you with your decision. There's also a portrait filter, which may not apply too much to FPV, but maybe if you're using it to vlog, it might be a good profile to use without the need for color grading. Now there is also a flat color profile as well, and as the name suggests, it is flat. So if you're planning on doing color grading later, this is the best option to go for. You can always add a LUT from Artlist, and this video isn't sponsored by Artlist, but it is a tool that I use on a regular basis for these YouTube videos for music, sound effects, and even footage. I'll leave a link down below. It's free to sign up, but if you decide to go for a subscription, you get 2 months free when you join. This is a tool that I highly recommend and has been really valuable to me, so you get your money's worth, and it's a one-stop shop for everything. If you're enjoying this video so far, hit that like button. It helps push the video out to more people, and it also lets me know that you enjoy content like this. Also, why not let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And there will be some more FPV content. I'm literally just waiting on delivery, so stay tuned. Now to get cinematic footage with the Insta360 Go 3S, we need to control our exposure, and there's 2 ways. So if you want the least fuss possible, just stick this in auto and just put the exposure value as -0.3. And this tends to give me the best results. Most digital and action cameras tend to like to overexpose, and this just protects the highlights by putting it at -0.3. There is also an option for metering for face or matrix, and if you're flying FPV, matrix will be the one to go. Unless you're planning to vlog, then set this to face. Now as for motion blur, because you're filming in auto, you can always just toggle the motion ND effect within the app or the desktop version. However, if you want more natural looking motion blur and better motion blur in my opinion, having compared the 2 images, then we need to use manual settings. Firstly, make sure your shutter speed is double your frame rate. So if you're filming at 4K 30, you need a shutter speed of 1/60. Now, depending on the lighting conditions, I would set ISO to auto, but cap this at 800 for bright days, and on cloudy days, set this to 1600. Now you can leave white balance to auto, but you can always lock this down to 5500 Kelvin to avoid any color shifts. EV, set this to -0.3. Sharpness is a personal taste, so test what looks good and clean, but not over sharpened. I left mine to default, which is medium. Now, when you are using manual settings, you'll notice that the image is now overexposed, and this is where ND filters come in. Now, Kane sent me these to review for this video, and they do a great job, and it comes with a case, a cleaning cloth, and you even get a UV and CPL filter on top of the NDs. So depending on your lighting conditions, pick the ND filter appropriate for the time of day. So during my testing, it was a bright day, so an ND64 was the right choice. I have left in my community post before on ND filter guide. If you want to see this again, just let me know in the comments and I'll repost this on my community tab. Now the motion blur definitely looks better and more natural, in my opinion, than adding the motion ND in post with the Insta360 app. Now when it comes to stabilization, you have several options. In FreeFrame mode, it doesn't matter, as you can pick this in post with the Insta360 app. I would just stick to advanced. Unless you're looking to lock the horizon, then set that. Standard has less of a crop than advanced. Horizon has a significant crop. Now in regular video mode, you have the choice of turning this off completely, standard, high, which will probably be best option for freestyle, or max. Now earlier I did mention to avoid the 45° and 360° look, and that's because in video mode we have something called Tilt Fix, and this will apply up to 10 degrees of horizon leveling, but will still rotate when you pass this limit. So it's ideally better to turn this off if you're planning on doing steep banking turns or freestyling, but maybe keep this on for indoor real estate shoots if that's your preferred look. Just note that this is not available in the action field of view option and it's only available in the video mode, not FreeFrame. Now, audio and zoom functionality is great, but we don't really use this in FPV, but we'll talk about it briefly anyway. Now, there is a wind reduction feature, which will be great for vlogging, but for FPV, we tend to just mute this and overlay music from either within social media apps or using a song downloaded from Artlist.
3, 2, 1, talk to me.
And zoom again is more for vlogs. I don't really use this feature. First up is duration. Now, normally you can set this to infinity and you'll just pause the clips yourself, or you can put a time limit on this. For instance, 5 or 10 minute recording. That way, if you forget to press stop record, it's not going to eat up all your storage. Now, there is a pre-recording function, and this will record a set amount of time of video before you press the shutter button, so you don't miss any action. You also have grids and a level icon as well, but this will probably be more worthwhile for vlogging. You also have voice and gesture control. Not really relevant for FPV, but if you prefer to turn on and off the recording using your voice or gesture, then you can just use this feature. Or just use the shutter button on the action pod to stop and start record. You also have a gyro calibration feature, so if your footage starts drifting, you'll be able to reset this here. My favorite part with this camera is this actually has Apple Find Me built in. So if you did lose the drone or it lost signal, at least you'll be able to locate this. Yeah. There is also a jitter blur feature, so I would personally leave this off, and this is more for low light. Also keep an eye on the battery level of your Go 3S. Ideally, you might want to put it back into the action pod, not only to recharge, but to back up the footage captured. So if you want to quickly capture footage with no fuss, just set this to auto, have the EV set to -0.3, and you're good to go. If you want more control, I would personally set this to either 4K 30 or 2.7K 50. I would set my shutter speed double my frame rate. ISO to auto, max 800 or 1600 in low light. EV to -0.3, white balance to 55K, and leave sharpness to default, which is medium. Use the correct ND filter. Now, personally, I would prefer to leave this in the flat color profile, as I would like to color grade later in post. However, I do really like Vivid as well as Urban 2 and Ocean 2, but this is down to preference. Now, to avoid having to set all these parameters every single time you turn on your camera or switching between different modes, you can actually create a preset, and I'm going to show you how to do this. So once you've dialed in your settings, swipe left or right in the middle of the screen, select the mode top left until it says preset, then click the plus icon top right, and then just double check your settings are correct, and that's it. And to access, simply go back to your presets and find your saved mode. If there's anything else you would like to know about the Insta360 Go 3S, let me know down below. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more action camera comparisons, to check out the DJI Action 5 or X4 here. And if you want to know if the DJI Avata 2 is right for you, then click here. I'll see you in the next one.